Lisa.
Hey, Christina, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. How about
Are you
you?
awesome? Are you getting over your cold?
Well, you know what? Getting over a little end of summer cold. What can I say?
You
So,
look great.
it's the fall. Well, that's so kind. It might just be some filters going on.
You sound great. So that's a good thing.
Thank you. My
Um,
voice is a little like growly,
I'm
right?
starting it's very sexy.
Right? Right?
I'm
The
starting to
the
feel it myself. So I'm like, oh, would be bad. We have two podcasts we're recording today. So for both of us to be like, bad.
yeah,
But yeah,
might be
no,
a
you
little.
sound really good. And if I start
Oh,
coughing, then I'll just mute myself, I guess. So
there you go. Same on my end. Same on
yes.
my end. So,
Okay.
cool.
Right.
So,
The deal.
what have you been baking in your kitchen, my dear?
My kitchen has been all a flurry lately. I've been practicing a lot because the Great Canadian Baking Show is going to be starting. I'll be doing my bake along. But I had this one bake, excuse me. I had this one bake that I started quite a while ago because it's a lot of gum paste fondant details. And it is in a series that I've been doing called the Fisher Price series. So I take old
Mm.
Fisher Price toys that we loved when we were kids and basically recreating them in cake form. And I do it all um, just freehand, free eye, no measuring, nothing. I just kind of do it based on what I can see. Thank you.
Mad respect for you, my dear.
So I had this cake that was like mostly put together, sorry, all in pieces, ready to be put together. And I finally was like, this has been sitting in my fridge. Like the carrot cake has been sitting in my fridge for so long. All the fondant gum paste pieces have been sitting in a container. I'm like, I'm just going to put this together. And if it's not as detailed as I would like, I'm going to still have something to show. So I threw it together yesterday so I could take some pictures of it and put it on Facebook. So not technically baking, but creating. And so that it looks, I'm pretty happy with how it looks.
Oh, you should be incredibly happy and proud because, my dear, you blew it out of the park again.
Thank
It's
you.
just stunning. I saw the pictures that you posted yesterday, and I'd seen the previous creations in the Fisher Price series that you've been
Yes.
doing, and it's just like I'm just in awe of your talent and fondant work. I mean, it's just it's
Thank
challenging.
you.
It's
It's
tough,
very
and you
piddly
do it
sometimes.
so well. Yeah.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I know people don't really like eating fondant, but it's really fun to work with to create those kinds of things. And this whole entire cake actually ended up going in the garbage this morning because it's just not edible. That carrot cake has been shaped and sitting in wrapped in my fridge for so long. The reason that took so long was because I wanted to actually have the turntable to be rotating. So I
Mm.
had bought this little tiny rotating display stand off of Amazon that I was planning on implanting into the cake. I had to buy it twice. It didn't work either time. I
Oh
could
no.
make it work when it was connected, but not with batteries. And I needed it to be battery operated. And so, what have you been baking lately?
Well, I was slightly inspired by all your fondant work. And
Moi?
that's something, yeah. And
How
that's something that I don't do a lot
you
of. I think I've
dislike fondant?
done,
Yes.
I'm
No
not a
one should
huge,
eat it.
I am not a huge fan of fondant. I can certainly appreciate the work and the creativity and the artistry of using fondant for decorating your cakes. It
Mhm.
is an art form unto itself and crazy skill, mad skill that I have mad respect for. So my niece, my great niece actually, just turned 16 and she asked me to do a cake for her. And some of the inspiration photos that she sent to me were all fondant cakes. And so in our conversation back and forth about, what kind of cake and flavors and all that kind of stuff, the theme of her big sweet 16 party, she said she loves fondant. I'm like, she
She's a
loves, nobody loves
loves.
fondant. Do they? Do
She's a
they
big
love?
fawn.
Are they fond of fondant? Are they really fond of fondant?
That's interesting.
But she is, loves fondant. So I tried
It's
to, you
weird.
know, I
Okay.
tried as much as I could to kind of get her over to the buttercream side. And she wasn't having any of it. So I ended up doing a fondant cake for her. And it was like a pink zebra cake. It was a lot of fun actually, and it was a lot of work. But man,
Yeah.
I that my fondant work needs a lot of work.
I think your cake looked beautiful. You did a great job.
Oh,
Either that or you did a really great job photographing it, but
maybe both, a little bit
maybe
of
both.
both.
But I just
So
want to talk about because you did that zebra um,
striping, yeah.
technique on the inside of the cake.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So
So
how did it work out when it was cut?
actually, well, I haven't seen a cut picture of it, but I did actually bake. You know, one of the other things we talked about is I always bake a little side cake or a little muffin or something like that, or cupcake or whatever, just to kind of see the crumb and also to test flavors when I'm putting
Yes,
them
yes.
together for fillings and such. So anyway, so I did bake an extra little 4-inch round
Mhm.
with it, and it actually turned out really well. It was so much fun. And the other thing that I did that was new, I'd never done a reverse creaming method
Mm.
for a cake. And
Oh,
you
it's
know
so
what?
good.
I am in love. That was one of the best things that I did. The crumb on there is amazing. It's incredibly soft, and it's got a tighter crumb, but it's so soft and so moist, and it's brilliant. I will be doing that again. And if you're doing a zebra type cake or a marble cake where you're using the same batter and then you have to color it
Color a
or
portion of it.
keep mixing it, the reverse creaming method makes so much sense because there's very little chance that you're going to be over mixing the batter, because that step with the reverse creaming protects, when you're adding the butter into the dry ingredients, it actually protects your flour and coats it so
Mhm.
that you can't overwork the
You can't
gluten
overwork the
before it
gluten.
bakes.
Perfect.
So yeah,
So
it's
for people
brilliant.
who don't know what the reverse creaming method is, instead of creaming your butter and sugar together first and then adding the dry ingredients to it, how are you doing it? You're beating the butter and then adding the dry ingredients to the butter, or you're just doing
No.
it all at the same
So
time?
no, so what you do is you mix up all of your dry ingredients together first. So
Mhm.
throw it all into your stand mixer. So your flour, your
Okay, it's
sugar,
all in
your
there.
leaveners, salt, any extra, like if you're baking with teas, for example, you throw that all in. And then you throw your mixer on low. And you've got your softened butter on the side, and you just throw it in like about a tablespoon at a time. Let it incorporate all of it until, before you put in your next one. And then you mix it until you get sort of like a grainy, almost like a wet sand consistency. When you hit that stage, then you throw in the rest of your liquid ingredients, beat it up, and Bob's your uncle. You're all done. You throw it into your pans, bake it up, and you've got this beautiful, beautiful cake. Yeah.
Sounds like you had a lot of fun trying a few new techniques
I
with this
did. I
cake.
did.
So,
And isn't that the one of the best parts of baking is just keeping experimenting and pushing yourself out of your
mhm,
comfort zones to try the different techniques and different things. So,
definitely. Good for
yeah.
you. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Will I be making more fondant cakes?
Not likely. Only next year on her 17th birthday.
Oh, and hopefully I will talk her out of that.
You can make your own fondant. It's much more tasty than some of the other fondants you can get.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So tell us about our guest that we have coming on today, because
So
this is an
really,
exciting one.
it is.
I mean, they're all exciting. What am I? I'm always excited about
Aren't all
everyone.
our guests awesome and exciting?
They
I
are.
agree.
And
So
fantabulous and stupendous and terrific.
totally. All the good things.
All the good adjectives.
All the good things. Well, this one is rockabilly amazing. So, our guest for this week is actually called the Rockabilly Baker, Dyana O'Brien, and she was a finalist in season 6 of the Great American Baking Show. So,
Fun.
we talk about how relationships between the bakers go beyond their own season. Now they're going beyond borders as well. And I got introduced to Dyana through Loic, who had posted about the Rockabilly Baker and how he made her one of his famous or soon to be famous pie bags. Have you seen those?
I have seen Loix. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
incredible. Like what a great little carrier for a pie.
Very. He's a
And
multi-talented person, this Loic.
he really is. Sows, bakes. What else can he
I mean, whatever
What
he
else
puts his
can't he
mind to,
do?
he'll just do it. He'll just do whatever.
Right. Well, anyway, so Loic introduced us through his Instagram page, or introduced me.
Diana.
I became interested in what the Rockabilly Baker was doing through Loic, and then found out she was on the Great American Baking Show. We started interacting, engaging a bit on social media, like we always do, like we did.
We did.
And then I just reached out and said, hey, we're doing this little podcast thing. We'd love to hear your story. And she agreed. So I am so happy to welcome Dyana to the show.
Welcome, Diana.
Hi, can you
Hi.
hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Oh my
How are
goodness.
you guys?
So
We're just
good.
talking about how she's just getting over a cold and I just might be starting to get a cold. So
Oh
that's
no.
it's par for the course this time of year, I think.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah.
Look at you. I love
I know
that looks
you
so
look
good.
so
Thank you.
adorable.
Thank you guys.
And that's your kitchen behind you? It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
thank you so much. Yeah, so
Ah, so
we've
cute.
owned this house for about, I think, going on 18 years now. And it was a work in progress. So this is how we wanted it. It took a lot of work and effort, blood, sweat, and tears, but we love it.
Oh,
Oh, no kidding. It looks
it's so
adorable.
beautiful. And did you have a hand in designing the whole kitchen? And
I did, yeah. I mean, we kept the footprint from when we bought it, but we redid all the cabinets, all the hardware. I special ordered. We had it repainted, changed all the appliances and the granite countertops and all that good stuff. And
Oh, it looks
yeah,
amazing.
so it
oh,
was a lot of work, but well worth it because I spend so much time in here. It better be the way I like it. I pretty much live in here if I'm not sleeping.
No
oh,
kidding.
I
Yeah.
can tell that that would be a very inspiring place to create your beautiful works of art.
Yes, yeah, I love it.
Victory roll. That's what it is. It's a victory roll, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay. I
right.
was like, what is it called? What is it called?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know, I'm a lead singer of a rockabilly band too. So I
Yes.
almost always have my hair like this. Obviously, not all the time when I'm alone in the kitchen, but I do have somewhere to go after this. So I'm ready to go out. But
You look ready to go out. You look
You
all
do.
perfectly put together and you look on the outside like what I feel like I am on the inside, but I'm too shy to be on the outside.
oh, you're too shy. Life is short.
That's true. That's true.
And then for my end, I don't think my hair could do that just because it's so thin and
All
I
you
just,
need is a good teasing comb, and if you need texture spray, any kind of hair. In fact, both of my sisters, um, they do well. One of them lives here now, but one of them has very thin hair, and they said, "We want to do her hair. Can you do it for us?" And we got it up. We got it. The rollers. It worked. You know, you just a lot of teasing and a lot of hairspray.
well,
I would
it's
love to see Christina like that.
maybe one day.
Halloween is coming up.
Halloween,
Yeah,
Halloween.
right. There you go.
That would be
That's-
really fun.
Oh, fantastic. Well, Diana, we are so thrilled to have you join us on Baking Scraps, the Sweet Talk today. For people who don't know who you are, do you want to start off with just a quick introduction of who you are, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you again for having me. I'm thrilled to join both of you, and I look forward to our conversation today. So,
Thank you.
Do too.
yeah, a bit about me. I am Dyana O'Brien, also known as the Rockabilly Baker on Instagram. I live here in Sacramento, California with my husband. I've got identical twin daughters who are both grown and out of the house. And then the other loves of my life, my two English bulldogs, Spumoni and here's Spumoni right here. Spumoni, say hi.
Moni.
I
Okay.
love the name.
But that's Spumoni, and Risotto is running around. He can't be trusted up on the chairs. He's a little too rambunctious for that. But I was a finalist on the Great American Baking Show. And if you're not familiar with that version of the show, it is filmed in the tent in England with Paul and Prue. So lots of work, lots of stress, but it was so exciting. And I'm just such an honor. It's just honored to be part of the Bake Off family because it's amazing what being on that show has done for me personally as a baker, as far as introducing me to so many bakers all around the world and all different versions of the show. It's really collaborative. It's really just an amazing group of people. So yeah, I mean, I've been baking since I was like this tall, cracking the eggs for my mom as a kid. She was a great cook and a great baker. Love to feed. I mean, I'm Italian, she's Italian, so we love to feed people. Like if anybody comes over, oh, you have to eat something. So
Right?
that's just in my nature. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So O'Brien is your married name then?
O'Brien is my married name. Yes, I have an affinity for the Irishman.
I was going to say that's not a very Italian last
Yeah.
name. But you can see that I have my little lovies in the background there.
Aw, yeah.
Tux and Ford, they just got neutered on Wednesday, so they're recovering a bit.
Aw.
Mochi is right behind my chair. She's
Oh
sleeping.
my gosh, how cute.
So what have you been baking in that beautiful kitchen lately?
Well, I just got done baking the technical from the Great British Bake Off. So I don't know if you have watched it yet, but
Started watching last night. Yeah.
yeah, okay, so I'll try not to give too many spoilers, but the technical was the Battenberg, which happens to be one of my favorite cakes. I adore that cake. And so I actually made the minis like they did on the show, and then I made one bigger full-size version. But I did a play on the flavors and changed it up with some Halloween inspired flavors, some orange and chocolate, and did kind of a spooky take on it with some skulls and marzipan. And yeah, I've got some eggs and butter on the counter right now. I'm going to make black and white cookies, and then I'm working on some sfogliatelle right now as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm always making something.
Always going.
A few things going on.
I saw that Loic had also decided he was going to be baking a Battenberg cake, and then as he was watching the show, realized that that was their technical. So that was kind of ironic, actually.
Yes, I know, right? I love Loic. In fact, just a nod to him. He is such a doll and sent me this most beautiful pie carrier. I mean, he's just a sweetheart. In fact, I'm working on something to send to him as well. So not on the lowdown, but I'm sending him a little treat.
Oh, he'll be so excited.
Do you want to share with us what that might be? We won't tell him.
This won't air until after he's gotten it.
Probably. Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. So actually, it's a goodie basket filled with sourdough discard crackers with a really sharp cheddar and some just Italian cookies that I love, that I know really travel well, along with some recipes that I wanted to share with him. So yeah, just kind of a snack box, if you will.
How amazing.
It is like a big baking family.
Yeah.
It really is. It's so funny. Like people will DM me and comment, and it just brings people together, because I feel like even my biggest surprise when I first met the bakers on my series, when we first just all arrived in London, we're all jet lagged and we're all like, what are we going to do? We're on the show, like kind of sizing each other up and meeting each other. It was shocking to me just how we bonded immediately. And I kind of relate it to bonding over trauma, because
we hear that often.
Do you really? Yeah. I mean, it is just, you don't know what to expect. You're in this crazy tent. You're in a different country using different ingredients. Especially for us, we had to get acclimated to the differences in just the ingredients and how they were going to come through in our recipes. So we had a double whammy. And so we bonded immediately and just kind of learned to root each other on, and we're there for one another, practicing in our apartments and sharing ingredients, and we became fast friends. It was really, I never expected that, but I'm so thankful, because I was worried, because American shows can be really cutthroat.
Yes.
And the reason that I love the Great British Bake Off is because it's not that way. It just focuses on the food, and it's just so charming, and the people are lovely. And I don't want to watch people stab each other in the back. I want to watch some really amazing cooking and see people that are supportive to one another, and just encourage each other to bake as the best things they can possibly bake.
Agreed. And that's one of the things that we were so excited about when the Canadian version started up, is because the British version just feels like comfort and home, and And so you want to make sure at first, I was a little bit apprehensive because I was like, oh, what are they going to do? But I mean,
Yeah.
we're Canadians, so it was very,
Yeah.
very polite and lovely, just
Right,
like
right.
home.
It has. Now that I've learned I can watch the Canadian, I'm getting all caught up, like going through all the different versions. So and it's just as charming. It's lovely. And that's just one of the best things about this whole show is that the support from one another.
Yes, for sure.
So how did you end up on the show to begin with?
Okay, so well, I just went through the audition process, which I will tell you right now for anyone thinking about it, it is long. I mean, just the application alone, I don't even know how long. You had to send in a video. My husband was traveling, and I had decided, well, I'm going to do this little video really quick, and just I don't know, it was really stupid. I had one of my bulldogs, not this one, it was a different version of bulldogs, but I had them in the audition tape, and I said I'm going to send it in and see what happens. And I literally got a call, I think it was 2 days later. I couldn't believe it. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is real. So I called my boss immediately and said, hey, just FYI, would it be okay if I'm chosen? Can I take this really long amount of time off to bake? And he's like, heck yeah.
Nice.
So he was really supportive. Prior to that, I bring goodies into the office all the time, like always bringing in treats and yummies and all that good stuff. So he knew it was a passion of mine and that I was really committed to doing it. So I'm so lucky I got that support. But yeah, it was a lot of kind of trials and tribulations. We had to drive all the way down to LA, which is about 6.5 hours without, LA traffic, and bring tasting elements. So right. I drove with this cake and probably 10 sheet pans full of chocolate feathers because I made a flamingo cake, and I literally put it together in the hotel room and decorated in the hotel room. And we also had to bring a bread, and I did not like the way my bread turned out here before I left. So I made a new dough and let it rise on the way there and baked it. I baked it in a toaster oven in my hotel room.
Wow.
And I can't believe I got on with that dang bread. I was like, because honestly, I was the most intimidated about bread week. Before getting the call that I was cast on the show, I never, ever, ever really made bread. I just never did it. And then COVID came, and then we all got locked down. I was like, I've got to figure this out. So I made it every darn day. And it ended up being my best week on the show, like hands down, the highlight of my time on the show. And now I bake it. In fact, I have dough on the counter right now. I've got sourdough in the hopper. Like I make it almost every day.
Wow. Isn't that interesting how something that you had never tried before can become like such a passion?
Right. Yeah, it really is. I'm like, why did I wait so long to figure this out? I don't know why. I just really, because it's intimidating, I think. It is a little bit more difficult. There are so many different variables that can affect it, temperatures, time, all the, whether you kill your yeast or whether you use acid or too much sugar or all these things. Like, it's just such a science, and it was intimidating, I think.
So what do you do for work? Do you have some kind of science background, or are you only interested in the bread the science because of bread baking?
Yeah, no, I have no science background.
Okay. So what did you end up taking time off from to go on the show?
Oh, okay. So I work for a utility company here in California. If you're in California, you know who it is. And but anyway, and now we work from home a lot. So I'm home most of the time because they kind of closed out a lot of offices and things like that. But yeah, and then so I do that, and then I'm kind of phasing out of that. And I also sing in the Rockabilly band, so that takes up a lot of my time with as far as music and rehearsals, and we love to swing dance, so we go to dance lessons and things like that a lot. But
that's so fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So your plate is very full between work, all your baking, and then your music.
Yes, it really is. I always have people asking me like, well, can you make me a cake? Can you make me this? And I'm happy to do any sort of cake for anybody, but I'm like, you have to let me know. Well, my calendar is booked out through February already. Like I
Wow.
don't have a clear weekend. So get on the calendar now. I'll squeeze you in something.
Wow. You
Yeah.
have created quite a lovely, fun life for yourself, it sounds like.
Yeah, you know what? I think we have. We are really like my husband is my biggest supporter. He's my biggest fan. And I could never have even gotten on the show without him, to be honest. Like he's amazing and he supports me in everything that I do. And he loves it. I mean, he really enjoys it. He brings everything that I make as far as treats here into his office. So he has lots of friends at work, always. I think he makes lots of friends. And then he does the sound for my band when it's needed and
Oh.
always make sure things are working and then dances with all the ladies like while I'm up there. It's really we both have a lot of fun. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
really lucky.
That
Yeah,
is
it's
awesome.
wonderful how involved he is and how supportive of that he is for all your passions.
Yeah,
And
I hit the jackpot, really.
yeah,
No
Aw, that's so
kidding.
sweet. So sweet.
I wanted to ask you, Dyana, actually, I know that you said that you've been baking since you were little.
Mhm.
What actually started your interest in baking?
I honestly don't know what sparked it. I just know my mom was always in the kitchen. She was a homemaker. So my dad would go to work and she would have a homemade dinner and dessert on the table every night when he came home. That was her job and she took it very seriously and she was very good at it. And I wanted to help. I just always I wanted to mix the meatballs, I wanted to crack the eggs, I wanted to decorate the cake. Just I can't remember a time that I didn't want to be in the kitchen with her when she was in there. So from that, it just kind of grew. And as my taste evolved as a young adult, you get more experimental and eating your vegetables, you actually enjoy them and
Yeah.
things like that, just so I not only love to bake, I really love to cook too. So I'm doing all the things in the kitchen. Like I told you guys earlier, I spend so much time here. It's kind of ridiculous. Sometimes I just need to get out. I'm like, I'm
That's
in the
awesome.
too long.
I think that's great. I mean, I would spend all my time in the kitchen if I didn't have to actually do other things.
Yeah,
Right?
same,
I know.
same.
Yeah, I know. I
Doesn't
know.
it doesn't sound like that much of a hardship, really.
Nope. Sounds great to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, all the benefits, once you're done doing it, ever you get to eat it. And I think that breaking bread with people are some of the best memories that
Mhm.
I have ever had and some of the best meals I've ever had. They're things you just don't forget, the smells, the conversations and what you had. I love those kind of memories. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
There
Yeah.
is definitely a magic in the way that food does bring people together and the joy that's shared, the laughter, it's just, and the memories that are created. There's nothing like it.
No.
exactly. It's a universal language is food, in my
Absolutely.
opinion. Like you don't need to say a word. You just eat and watch people's faces and you don't need to speak the same language.
Do you still
Absolutely.
get that worry though? Like, oh, are they going to like it? Are they going to like it? I mean, aside from Paul and Prue, I'm talking just general people because of course you're going to worry if Paul Hollywood likes your bake.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was the most stress too. But yeah, I mean, normal. I know when I've screwed something up. And I'll also say I'm my worst critic. I'm so critical of myself. I'm working on it, but I am overly critical of myself. Like I'll tell my husband, oh, this is just crap. You can't take this into work. He's like, I'm taking it. It's delicious. And he'll take it and then he'll send me emails. Everybody loved it. You're crazy. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely your own worst critic.
Yeah. But waiting for Paul and Prue to give their critique I felt like I was going to pass out half the time. Honestly, just the stress of waiting and not knowing and wondering if what they're going to think. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. I mean, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It was difficult.
I bet. So take us through that journey from, we talked a little bit about the application process.
Yeah.
When you got that call from the Great American Baking Show that you were one of the 9 contestants that they'd chosen to be part of season 6, and you were going to be off to London to create all these goodies for Paul and Prue. Like, What was that feeling like? Because I'm just talking about it and I'm like thinking, oh my goodness, how exciting that must have been, and probably terrifying at the same time.
It really was. It was the most exciting call. I mean, yeah, obviously, you just it. I think, in fact, when I got the call that it was on and we were going, I was in the airport in Las Vegas, coming home from a Rockabilly music festival.
Fun.
And I almost didn't answer the call. I was like, oh, this looks like a spam call, but I took it anyway. I could barely hear them. I was screaming in the airport. I don't care who was around. Strangers. They all probably thought I hit the jackpot or something.
I was going to say.
It was probably okay. But yeah, I mean, I just don't even think it registered that it was real until, a couple weeks later. But then I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do. There's so much preparation to do. I'm going to be away from home. We were able to bring some certain special ingredients as we're creating our recipes. Like, it was so much work. I even took some time off of work before I went there just to prepare, because it is not just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go be on the Great American Baking Show. I mean, I suppose you could do that. I'm an overthinker, so I couldn't do that. I really couldn't. I needed to try to be as organized as I possibly could. And it was hard. So, but yeah, it was just like, I don't know. I can't explain the excitement. It was just like so incredibly exciting, and I'm just still honored to be a part of it. I still can't believe it sometimes that it even happened. It's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, no kidding. I wish that we could watch it somewhere. Like, it
I
would be
know.
so nice to be able to find it.
I don't understand why they don't clue in that all of us want to watch all the different seasons. Just make them available to us, because people will watch.
Totally.
Like when the British baking show isn't off, I'm jonesing. I'm going all over the world trying to see all the other ones, especially I love the Canadian one too. I've learned some really great recipes from the Canadian version, and I love it. So I don't know why they don't just pay attention and just realize we're gonna love it. So get with it.
We're telling you now. We're telling everybody now. Listen to us.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I know. Make it available. I know some of the older versions are available on YouTube, but I know our version was actually somebody pirated it or something and put it on YouTube. It was on, I think, for about 3 or 4 weeks. And then who knows, the production company, somebody got wind of it and it was gone like that. So which is a bummer, because I want everybody to be able to see it. It's kind of unfortunate because, we had there were some really good technical recipes in our show. There's one, in fact, one that was my favorite because I got first place in it. But also because it was just so dang delicious. I make it all the time. It's one of my husband's favorite cakes. And I wish you could see it because the recipes are really good.
Did they do mostly British bakes, or did they try to make it America-centric? Is that a word?
No, actually they didn't. They did some American, but I mean, I can run through them. There were only 6. We did I think the first one was macarons, so French. Well, actually we did Italian method.
Okay.
Yep. And then we made a French buttercream. So we made, so French and Italian, but French cookie. And then we did a Swiss roll. We did hamburgers. We did hamburger bun and hamburger. I won the technical on that one. I kind of knew right as it came out that I was going to win that one. I don't know why. I just knew. It was weird because I was never, ever confident in the tent ever. But for that one and the other one that I won, I just knew I was going to, probably just because I was familiar and it was something that I cooked before. And then the fourth one was a churro. So Mexican inspired. And then we did the key lime chiffon cake with the mascarpone cream. That's the one that I make all the time. Love, love, love that cake.
That sounds amazing.
It sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I'll send it to you guys if you want it, because that one is just phenomenal. And then the final one was we had to do a proper, I guess it's called a low tea. So we had to do 6 Victoria sponges, 6 chive and cheddar scones filled with lox and cream cheese, and then 6 strawberry tartlets with creme patisserie or pastry cream.
That was a
That was a
technical day?
technical?
Yeah. Yes. And we had like 2 hours and 15 minutes to do that thing. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
That is crazy.
Wow. Yeah, that's
I
a
know.
lot. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll never forget that one, turning around being like, yes, we all did it. Like by the skin of our teeth, just got everything plated. It was a lot of work.
Oh, wow. And was that fun or was it only stress?
Honestly, for me, I think my favorite part was the technicals.
I always think that.
Yeah.
I love the technicals. Well, for one, it's kind of a level playing field.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's not going to be about the judges' affinity to a certain an ingredient, you know what I mean, or dislike of a certain ingredient. You can get unlucky, like, and choose something that you may not know that they don't really like, and then. So I really love the technicals. That I was most excited about the technicals, and I really just enjoyed them probably more than anything, honestly.
Yeah.
I always think that if I ever get into the tent, then that's the thing that excites me the most, is the thought of doing the technicals. I don't know, just challenge, having something thrown at you and you're like, okay, let's see if I actually do know how to bake, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, those were definitely my favorite moments.
Nice. Now you had some crazy moments as well, including an attack of wasps.
Oh my gosh.
What happened?
Yeah, the very first challenge that we did, I think it was hot. It was summertime. It was 90 plus degrees. London was having a heat wave. It was like when we filmed, it was a couple of years ago when they had that huge heat wave, and there was a lot of problem with the airports and just things were just overheating. I think the wasps just came out because all of a sudden the bakers are back and the sugar is here. And I am deathly afraid of bees. So wasps are even worse because they hurt, you know what I mean? And they were aggressive and they were all over. I had to throw away 2 different bowls of Italian meringue buttercream because I got wasps in it. Literally watching them whiz around. It's like, I don't have time to spare. I had to toss out 2 perfectly good batches of buttercream because of these damn wasps. I'm not kidding. After that challenge, before the next one, I thought I'm going to buy a beekeeper suit, wear the hat with the come back in, because I just didn't want to be dealing with them. And I'll never forget on the showstopper, we had to do I think it was a foot high cookie sculpture of a place in our state. So I did the roller coaster park in San Diego that I really love, called the Big Dipper. And I'm like trying to glue everything with sugar glue, like really, really hot. I had like 4 Band-Aids on. I had burnt myself so many times and the wasps are everywhere. And I just started to lose it and laugh and look at the producer and was like, go ahead, sting me, bite me now. I don't care. Like, I'm just so over these bees being everywhere. It was a real shock because I didn't know it was going to happen, because we were in the tent prior to like get everything set up, but they weren't out. For some reason, they were not out. But I think once everybody got all that sugar, they just kind of went crazy. I'm going to put Spumoni down. Do you hear her? She's growling.
Yeah, I was like,
that's
awesome. Do my dogs here?
She's
probably reliving the wasp moment with you as well.
Hi, Spumoni.
Hi, cutie pie. Oh my goodness.
So cute.
The most adorable.
Is that the roller coaster at Belmont Park?
Yes.
Oh man, we love that roller. That's a wooden roller coaster.
It is. I love wooden coasters.
Oh, yes,
it is. It's one of my favorites, and I'm deathly afraid of heights. So, but I'll ride any roller coaster.
Oh,
it doesn't make any sense at all, but I do love a good roller coaster.
Like, as long as I'm sitting down, strapped in, and going fast, I'll be okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, what could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Yeah.
I don't know. Christina, have you been on the wooden roller coaster at the PNE?
Oh, many times.
Yeah. It's a lot like that one. And I think that the wooden roller coasters are almost more scary.
Yeah. They're rickety,
so,
right?
Yeah.
it's the ricketiness of,
Right.
you know,
They sound like they're going to fall apart at any moment.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
they've been around for a while. Exactly.
Right.
You just hope maintenance guys are like all over it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love Belmont Park. We usually go to Temecula every year for there's a big
Nice.
breast cancer fundraiser that my kids and I have gone to every year for quite a long time, and
how cool.
we like to make San Diego our little extra getaway time. Although last time we went to LA instead, and yeah, we had a really good time. And now
San
there's
Diego
no
is
more.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Yes, we love San Diego. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It feels like
It's such a
home.
beautiful city.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels a lot like here in Victoria. So
It does, especially Coronado Island area. Because
Oh, so you guys are in Victoria.
she's on the mainland.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, so as a kid, my dad was a pilot and he did aerial flight search. So when airplanes crashed, he would fly around and then go investigate the rubble and kind of diagnose what happened with
Wow.
Well, in one of those searches there, he was up in Canada and he found this house for sale right on the water in Campbell River. And I'm a big fisherman. He loved to fish. And I grew up having this house in Campbell River. We would fly there every like twice a year to fish and catch salmon. And so we lived in Oregon. I grew up in Oregon. So we would drive up and then, or fly up either way. But we always would go through Victoria and it was just incredibly lovely.
Yes, it's such a lovely place to be. Well, let me know if you're ever coming back to the island. I'd love to
I will. I will.
Does your family still have the house in Campbell River?
No, unfortunately, after he passed, we had to. I'm super bummed. I wish we could have kept it, but we don't. But the lady that did buy it, we are still friends, and she always says, "If you ever want to come up, and I am going to take her up on it. I am because my husband hasn't been up there yet, and I want him to see it. So you have plans to get up there once and for all.
Probably a lot of nostalgia there for you.
Yeah, definitely.
And you'll have to let us know if you are up in this area because we would love to connect up with you live.
Yes. Oh, I would love that. Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
It would be wonderful.
Putting the spark to me too, because I've been saying I have to get up there. Maybe this is the sign. I've got to do it.
This is your sign, Dyana.
Right.
This is the sign.
You really need a reason. Come on.
Right. Right.
Right. So very cool. So you had obviously a lot of great highlights in the tent. You tell us about I think, pinnacle moment for, I think, most bakers that have been on the Great British Bake Off and then Great American Bake Off, with having Paul Hollywood as a judge there and getting that elusive Paul Hollywood handshake.
Right. Honestly, that was the highlight. It was superior to even getting to the finale. It was the craziest thing is that was the week that I thought I was going to go home because, like I said, I wasn't a bread baker, but I did practice really hard once I knew I was cast on the show. I was like, well, I had to figure out how to make bread. And for some reason, I can't believe I got the handshake. So I did a showstopper. So it was first showstopper, and we had to make a showstopper of our favorite children's book. So I chose, I love Hans Christian Andersen and I love The Ugly Duckling. And so I did 4 different kinds of bread, and I did a swan. So The Ugly Duckling all grown up. And then I did have some very ugly ducklings sitting on my bench as well. So I did a milk bread with chocolate and orange, and it was actually leopard spotted inside. So it had a design on the inside, and then I coated it white with powdered sugar. I did a bagel neck with black sesame seeds for the swan beak, and then I did fougasse wings with sage and garlic and some Maldon salt, and then I did the steamed buns filled with my mom's Italian filling, which was homemade ricotta and Parmesan, mozzarella, basil, and cherry tomatoes. And those went inside my little steamed buns that were the ugly ducklings.
Oh, that sounds incredible.
I love that. I love a savory bake.
Yes. Yeah. I was really, really happy with it. I remember them coming around, to check out what I was doing and say, oh, that's a lot of bread. Are you sure you're going to pull this off? And I'm like, well, It's bread week and I'm here with Paul Hollywood. This is my only time to like show off. And I needed to show him that I learned how to make bread. And yeah, when he reached his hand out, I honestly thought I was going to pee my pants. Like I could not believe I cried. I mean, I literally kind of broke down and cried because one, I was so excited to just get a handshake, but two, I don't think, and I've done some research to see, looking back at all the other episodes, I don't think he's ever given a handshake on a showstopper on Bread Week, except for mine. Not in the British version, in any version.
Wow.
Yeah. So for me, that was just, like you said, it's the pinnacle moment and I'll never forget it. I've never watched
making.
Yeah.
That's that would be it. That's all that would need to happen, right?
Right.
Life is
Yeah.
complete.
Yeah. That was the best week because that was the hamburger buns. I won the technical that week and that it was just, that was my highlight, I guess.
Bread week was definitely your week.
Yes, it really was. And it's so crazy because like I can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean that is basically kind of the goal when you're going on the British show, and certainly I guess the American show would be the same sort of thing. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be begging for Paul Hollywood, and that's the absolute highest praise you can get from him.
Right. Yeah. For bread. I mean, it's just
for bread.
I still don't quite believe it, but I'll take it.
Well, it is yours forever and ever. So
congratulations on that.
Yes, that's amazing. And so you ended up making it all the way to the finale.
I did. Yeah.
Take us through the finale, the bakes there. What?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so I got through the semifinals and then comes the finale, and the finale started off a little sketchy. I'll tell you, those ovens and the hobs, especially because they're induction. And I have a gas stove. I'm not used to induction. It was a big learning curve the whole way through the series because if there's any sort of movement at all, if the pan gets pushed just the slightest bit off of the round of the hob, it'll turn off. It doesn't beep at you. It doesn't tell you.
Oh,
you think you've got heat going and you're doing, the 20 other things you need to do to get done, and your hob isn't on anymore, but you don't know it because it doesn't beep at you. It doesn't flash any color. Like there's nothing. You just think, it's cooking. It's taking forever. So I had a lot of problems with one in particular, this particular hob that day. Especially on the finale for the showstopper for the finale. I remember because I had done it in my apartment the night before. We had to make caramel to dip choux buns and do a piece monté, like similar to the croquembouche where you stack all the choux. Well, my caramel was sitting on there. I had it timed in my apartment. It took 7 minutes. Done. Perfect caramel, brown, crunchy, dipped, great. 40 minutes later, I'm waiting. It's not browning. It's not caramelizing. Nothing. I am freaking out. Yeah. And I think Sarah may have been having some problems with her caramel was not caramelizing. I'm always like wonder, because it is filmed in a tent and it is on generator power, like wonder how that comes into play, because the first episode I had a problem with my first bake and the frosting melting off. I came back to do the technical. They're like, don't use your fridge or your freezer. And I was like, why? Is something wrong with it? Yeah, well, my freezer wasn't working. So that, of course, my cookies didn't cool off because my freezer wasn't working. So it's funny how, who knows what's going on really, if it's really getting full power. So I did run into issues, but I seemed to work it out. I was happy with my first bake. It turned out, probably it was one of the prettiest ones that I had done, because I'll tell you, my biggest shame of being on the show is how some of the things were decorated. And I would just like put my head down like, it tastes good. And to me, first things, the most important thing is that it tastes good. Yeah. I stand behind everything I made. Still, I know my flavors were strong. I know they tasted good. Were they decorated to my liking? Absolutely not. None of them were as beautiful as I like to do. And what I'm capable of doing, I just don't think it came across on the show because, it's hard. And
Yeah.
had I had the chance to redo it all now, I would definitely go in with a different mindset and a different plan as far as how to get things to look as beautiful and just kind of shorten things and make things a little less complicated.
Yeah.
So but yeah, no, and like I told you what the technical was, which was a beast, the low T, we had to do 3 different things, and it was crazy. And I came in second on that. And then now the showstopper comes along, and I got thrown for a loop with the caramel. That just threw me for a loop. But I knew my flavors were really good. I knew my shoe was cooked really well. It was crunchy. It was crisp. I couldn't put my piece together because the glue wasn't turning into glue. So I was literally down to the wire, and it was such a mess. I remember Prue saying it was a diamond in the rough because it really was. And I honestly, after the showstopper, I thought, oh my gosh, I might have a chance. And I didn't think that before because of how it looked. But after the tasting, after the feedback of the tasting of me and all the other contestants, I thought, holy mackerel, I think I might have a foot in this race because they did love all the flavors. And like I said, to me, that's the most important. I know I can decorate a cake and I know I can make it look pretty. When I'm in my kitchen and I have lots of time to do it, I can do it. But in the heat of the summer in a tent, and it's another story. But yeah, I sometimes wonder back, like as they announced the winner and everybody was congratulating Martin and giving hugs and all of that, and then all the other bakers are there to taste everything into the glory. Prue gave me a hug, and I don't know if it's, I go back and forth. Sometimes I wish she wouldn't have even said it, but she gave me a big hug and she whispered in my ear, "By a hair, darling, by a hair." And I'm like,
I love her so much.
Right? I know she's such a doll, but I'm like, oh man, by a hair, I really screwed it up.
Oh man.
Or had my caramel worked, something may have been different, but I get it. Like my piece was a mess. Like, let's be real. It tasted great. It looked a hot mess. It just, that's the nature of the tent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm going to throw back to what Loic said, because Loic was our first ever guest on this show.
Yeah.
And he said, it's not about who's the best baker. He said, it's about who's the best baker in this particular circumstance. Right. Yeah. And the situation that you were in is 100% not your normal situation as to what you would be able to do at home.
Right, exactly right. That's so funny he said that, because I would say when the producers would ask us in our little like tidbits, they'd be like, who's your biggest competition? Who are you after? And I'd be like, my biggest competition is myself and the clock, because I'm going to get in my own head and screw it up, or I'm just going to get behind in time and I'm going to get killed because I can't accomplish what I am setting out to do in that time frame.
Yeah. Truer words were never spoken.
And then add into that all the other elements that you're up against as well. So it's not even just you and getting in your head and time, but also the heat in the tent that you're baking in, wasps on certain occasions. And then your appliances not working.
Just being different appliances than what you're used to.
Yes, exactly. Right? And
and I mean, you're setting ingredients too.
Lots of things. You guys don't see all the crazy things that's really happened. I mean, I had one time off of the top of the K5 mixer where you can change out the attachment. Mm-hmm. For some reason, it dropped off into my glass bowl and broke the glass bowl. So another batch of whatever I was making was in the trash because I had to remake it. It's like, who goes through this kind of stuff? This is crazy. So there are definitely a lot of hurdles as far as being out of your own comfortable domain of knowing where everything is, knowing your equipment. It's definitely a lot to get used to that I think sometimes people don't consider when they watch the show, because I think there are really wonderful, I just know from meeting all these people, they're phenomenal bakers, even some that didn't make it all the way through. but that are more than capable. And just, like you said, something went wrong that day, or it just wasn't their best. And it doesn't mean they're not incredible bakers. Just to get into that tent, you've got to have some baking skills. You just 100%.
So true.
Absolutely.
100% true.
Yeah.
So you said that your life has changed a lot as a result of being on the show. So expand on that a little bit. Tell us what's changed.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. Yeah, I don't like to ever toot my own horn. I'm not somebody to brag or anything like that, but it is just hilarious how I've been like I said, I perform, and so when I'm on stage singing or something, and then I get down and I have people come up to me after the show and say, "We saw you on the Great American Baking Show and saw there was a rockabilly, band in town. We wanted to come and see you." And I just, that to me is like, it's gone full circle now. Like, people saw me on TV and now they're going to come see my band play, and they come back and they follow me on Instagram and they want to chat. And it's like, it's so exciting to me. I feel like I did something right in that, I'm getting a name out there for Sacramento and getting people involved in my band and my cooking. And it's funny because almost every time I have a show, unless I'm performing at a restaurant, I bring snacks. I bring bread, I bring cupcakes, I bring cake. I always bring goodies to share. So it's funny when strangers come up to me and say, "We're here because we saw you on the Great American Baking Show and wanted to see you and meet you." And it's kind of hysterical. My sister called me the other day and said she was doing some training at work with one of these employees who said he loved to cook. And she happened to ask if he had seen the show, and he said he loved the show. And he says, "Well, my sister's the Rockabilly Baker." And he lost his mind. It's like, what? That's not nobody. You know what I mean? I'm just Diana. I'm not anybody special, but it's just funny that people that I don't know all around town happen to know who I am. And it's very endearing. And I really appreciate it, because I always tell people I can talk about food and baking or cooking all day long. And so when I do post a recipe or post a video, I tell people, if you have questions, DM me. And I get people DMing me all the time, but I always answer back. I always respond, and I always just try to help them make whatever they want to make, but make it as successful as they possibly can. It's really important to me. So yeah. And then in addition to that, I've been doing some magazine work. So I've had about 5 recipes now, I think, published in a magazine here in Sacramento. And I'm really getting into the photography aspect, which is funny. I was not good at. I used to have my husband do all my photography, and then he bought me a food photography book one Christmas, and I just read it from front to cover. And now I've just really delved into that. I really enjoy it. So it's
new
not
passion unlocked.
Yeah, another new passion. And so this last time I submitted some recipes for this magazine, and they had done a feature on me prior, and they gave me the cover, and they had a photographer come here and did it, and it was great. And then she contacted me. She's like, "Would you be willing to do a couple more recipes highlighting this ingredient for our fall issue?" And I said, "Of course. Yeah, I'm baking all the time. I love doing it. Why wouldn't I?" And so she's like, "It's not going to be a feature." And I said, "I'm not expecting that. Like, of course not. I'm fine just doing a recipe." Well, she called me after I submitted them and said, "Oh, I met with the team. By the way, we want to use your bread and put it on the cover and use your photograph." And so I'm like,
awesome.
How did this happen? I did it with an iPhone, which is the greatest.
iPhones are incredible.
I know, they can do a lot of stuff with an iPhone. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on now. I'm working on some more recipes for I guess it'll be the holiday issue. I guess it's the end of, because they just did fall, so I guess their winter issue. So I'm working on some things for that right now. And yeah, I really am enjoying the whole photography aspect and recipe creating, which I didn't know I was going to enjoy as much before going on the show, but I really love it, because I send it out to my baking friends. I make them test it. I have tons of neighborhood friends that I get feedback, and I always am giving out my goodies, whether it's at a show, whether it's down the block. I'll send out emails to my neighborhood on the block and say, hey, I just made donuts filled with such and such. Who wants one? Put your street number here and I'll deliver them, And I do that pretty much every other weekend. I've got something going on to some neighbors in the neighborhood.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes. I want to be your neighbor.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind living in Sacramento either. Yeah.
That
sounds amazing.
Yeah, so, lots of fun. It's fun. Like you said, food brings people together, and I love sharing it. I don't want to keep it all for myself. I want to get it out and have everybody else have a piece. So
yes,
and that allows you to actually keep baking more and more because
it does,
right?
It
does.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, my husband always says, it's a passion. You don't have to eat it all. You give it away. Like, keep doing it. I was like, oh, I know I have like 20 cartons of eggs in the fridge. Like, honestly, we've had to buy extra fridge. We've made our whole side room off the kitchen, basically my giant pantry.
Nice.
That's awesome.
And cakes and everything in the boxes and everything. It's just kind of insane. But like I said, he is like my biggest supporter and my biggest fan. So he encourages it so much. And
I like your husband.
Yes, right.
I think good guy.
Yeah,
that's good.
He's a great guy. I am. I'm so lucky and so spoiled.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Are his passions your passions as well?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, he's an engineer, and so he's a structural engineer. So he builds things, and not only does he build big, huge commercial things, he's really handy with his hands. So here at the house, our house is built in 1888. We're in a high water Victorian bungalow. So something is always breaking, always going wrong. It gets old, but it's beautiful and it's very charming. And it's so funny because our basement is right under the kitchen, and our weekends are me in the kitchen and him downstairs in the basement, sawing stuff, building stuff, and we can talk to each other through the floors. I'm like, hey babe, you ready for lunch? And we can hear each other through the floors. It's kind of ridiculous. But, and then we love our weekends because we both have our little happy place doing what we love to do,
Yeah.
As far as his passions, I am terrible at math. I have him measure everything. If I'm going to even slice it, like for the Battenbergs I just posted, I was like, I need your help to figure this out. So he comes out, gets the little calculator out and makes me little special marks, but nice. I can't figure anything out that he's doing, but I have great appreciation for it because he is a true craftsman and has built so many amazing things in our house and outside our house. I mean, he built the pergola and our deck, and it's just, it's a living space outside that we use a lot. So it's gorgeous. Yeah.
Nice.
Fantastic. Well, what do you say we play a little game?
Oh, yes, I'm in.
Are you game to play a little game?
I'm always down for a game. Yeah.
Well, awesome. We like to play a little game called This or That.
Oh, I think I've seen that. I think I was voting on some. Yes, let's hear it.
So no right or wrong answers. Okay. There may be a little bit of judgment, but
I'm glad you're admitting now that there's going to be a little bit of judgment. She always says this is a no judgment zone, and then someone will answer and she'll be like,
yeah.
No, it's all good. Seriously, it's all fun.
It's all fun and games. She's not going to judge you. This is what we always say. I
usually only judge Lisa, really. Usually our guests are spared of any judgment.
That's true. That's true. We might as well be sisters the way things go.
Oh, I love it.
All right. Do you want to start it off, Lisa?
Sure. So our first this or that question. Sweet or savory bakes?
Sweet.
What's your favorite sweet bake?
Oh,
to eat.
I love cake. I love cake because it's a blank canvas and I make really good cake. I know not everybody will say that because there are some bad dry cakes out there, but I make cake at least once or twice a week, a couple different kinds. So, nice. and macarons would be my second.
There we go. I think go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask what's your favorite cake to make?
What flavor you mean? Mm-hmm. Well, it would definitely be a chiffon cake, and the flavor I love raspberry. I love fruits. I love fruits and cream. I like things that are a little bit lighter, but with a punch.
Yeah.
A lot of booze. Okay, so I am married to an Irishman, so I always put some sort of soak or some sort of alcohol in there. And my friends seem to really appreciate it.
I bet they would. We would appreciate it too.
Yes, we would.
Appreciate that.
We would very much appreciate it. Yes.
Totally. Totally. Cool. All right. Bread or cakes?
Ooh, okay. Well, so my husband will say bread for sure. To make, I think therapeutically, I really enjoy making bread. I'll tell you on the weekends, because that's normally when I bake my sourdough. And I like to sleep in, but like there's an internal clock in my head, like I need to get up and go turn the oven on and turn on the Challenger because I get to bake my bread. I want to do a scoring video. Like it's like that's all I can think about is baking my bread and what's the crumb going to be like. It's like so much excitement versus a cake. You know what you're going to get because it's there, you've decorated, you know already what it's looking like. But with bread, especially with sourdough, you really don't know until you cut into it. It's like that element of surprise. And I love that. Like there's nothing more exciting than cutting into a loaf of bread and seeing that beautiful crumb. And then it's just in the smell of
the smell.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what I love, actually, I think your starter name is Freddie Mercury, which is like amazing. I love that. So a bit of a Queen fan.
Right. I love Freddie Mercury and I love Queen. And and now I've given pieces of Freddie Mercury have gone over town. There's Fat Bottom Bready down the road. Like he started making bread all over 6th Ave, all over town.
I love it.
Awesome. So good.
It's the little details, right? Little things like that. Like, oh, I have a sourdough starter, but then when you hear the name, it brings so much more, shows us more of your personality. Not right. We kind of had a bit of an idea of your personality.
Yeah. We wouldn't have expected anything less.
No, exactly. All right. Next question. Maple or honey?
Maple, hands down. Like I said, we had the house in Canada and I'll never forget the syrup up there. It's just incredible. And my husband is from the East Coast, so he's from Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
So they get that Vermont.
Vermont, yeah.
He also loves the maple. So I hands down have to go maple.
It's a pretty good one. We have one of our cousins has beehives, so we get some really good honey here. The local honey is really good. We got big, like my husband does all kinds of construction work, so in exchange for doing things for them, we get these big huge tubs of this beautiful wild honey, and it's good.
Yum.
But you can't beat maple.
No, you can't. For the flavor, like versus one or the other, I'm always going to choose maple. But I agree with you. My husband also has a coworker that has bees, and we have a thing downstairs. It's the craziest container. I had never actually seen it. You pull up, it's just this incredible honey, multiple different kinds, and it is so good, and especially good for here in Sacramento. We're the city of trees. The allergies are something awful. And when you eat the local honey, it really seems to help with your allergies. So
it does.
So I do cook and bake with it a lot.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's good stuff. I always like to try to incorporate the honey in there. But you did say maple, so
I did say maple.
Yep. All right. Well, this one's going to be probably a little tough, but maybe not.
Okay.
Baking or singing?
Oh, baking. Oh, well, let's say I didn't tell you when I'm in here baking, I have my Alexa and I have my music playing. I am singing all the time while I'm baking. So I kind of do them both at the same time.
There you go. Okay. We'll take both as an answer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yes, I totally get that. I got into podcasts recently, but then I sometimes remember I'm like, oh yeah, I love to sing, and it's so much more fun to put on the music and dance around.
Totally.
Forget the measurements sometimes, but
right. Especially when you're doing dishes too, because it's no fun doing the dishes. So I need to have some good music on to sing too. Otherwise, they're not getting done.
Definitely.
No,
what's your favorite genre of music? What do you really like to listen to? The older stuff?
love rockabilly, but I'm also an 80s girl, big time. I
Mhm.
love
Okay.
new wave 80s and a little bit of punk mixed in. Like
Yeah.
I love all anything from the 80s though. You can like my husband always says anything with a cheesy keyboard. Like I just my eyes it's so ridiculous, but
The 80s music though was just so happy. There was so
yeah,
much joy in and just fun and lightness in
exactly.
80s music. I think
Yeah.
there was a whole pile of other stuff going on in the world.
Right.
But it just seemed like it just brought a lot of joy to a lot of people and happiness.
It
It
really
was a
does.
mood. Yeah.
It's very similar to rockabilly too, because I feel like that's what my band is like. There are a couple of different rockabilly bands here in Sacramento, but mine is always upbeat. It's always fun. There's always dancers on the dance floor, and old people and really young little kids just
That's
love it because it is just feel good music.
yeah.
Yeah.
You
That's
gotta
what
love that.
yeah.
I love that. Absolutely. Okay. Baking alone or baking with friends?
That's a tough one. Oh man. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I it depends. Can I say which friends, which group of friends? Is it my
Sure.
big
Okay.
friends? No, bring them. But if it's not, then it's just me because it's hard for me to be in the kitchen when other people are in charge. Like I'll admit it. I don't like to correct people and or say, what are you doing? Sometimes I'm like, what are you doing? Oh God, it's awful. I'm gonna have to say baking alone just because it's kind of my Zen place. This is like
Yeah.
my place, and I like my music on. I like it a certain way, and I don't. Well, a lot of my friends just want to do like I do, chat, talk, talk, talk. But I'm weighing stuff. I'm like, did I get that? What
Yeah.
are you saying? Like I get confused. So I'm gonna say baking alone because it's my happy place.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with that. Definitely.
Yeah.
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 Nice. I mean, my son likes to come over and bake with me, and I do enjoy that. That's always a
Sure.
nice
Of
time. But I
course.
don't expect to be baking the same way that I bake when I'm by myself.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not doing any
Yeah.
serious true baking when your friends are around. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, let's make a batch of cookies or do something. I'm not doing elaborate cakes. In fact, it's so funny because my sister always wants to come over and I'll have like a wedding cake due. And I'm like, look, it's distracting for me to have somebody sitting here talking the whole time because I
Mhm.
have to, this is important. This is a wedding cake and they're
Yeah.
stressful. Like, I don't want to screw this up. So I
Mhm.
have to pay attention. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I feel like people think it's easy to just sit there, but it is very distracting.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you feel a responsibility to them also, right? Because especially if
Yeah.
they're in your home and you like to play host.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I love to play hostess and I want to make sure they have a drink and a beverage and something to eat and then they're being entertained. But it's like, I can't really fully engage.
Focus
Yeah,
on
and
it. Yeah.
focus. Yeah.
Yeah.
On
No,
either
totally
thing.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Right, right.
All right.
That's 100%.
Vanilla or chocolate?
Vanilla.
Oh,
I know. I am a
Mhm.
vanilla lover.
Me too.
I'll tell you, I can't stand working with chocolate.
oh, not at all.
I definitely love to eat it and I will work with it, but I don't like doing it. I hate
Mm.
getting it on my fingers. In fact, if we have chocolate ice cream, my husband scoops it because my knuckles will get dirty scooping, and I do not like to have chocolate. I don't like getting dirty with chocolate. It's so silly. It's a
Particularly chocolate.
very weird thing that I have about working with chocolate. I don't like it, but I love to eat it. But if I had to choose, I like fresh vanilla bean. I love
Mhm.
steeping it. I just love that flavor. I like to
Mhm.
dab some behind my ears. It's delicious.
Right?
Yeah.
We were
Very
actually
nice.
talking about this the other day. There was like a perfume or some sort of fragrance that was like beautifully vanilla scented when I grew up, and I grew up in the 80s and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I can't remember what it was called.
And I said it was Vanilla Fields, Rodan Vanilla Fields, but she said no.
No, I don't think it was. I think it was like in the small, and it wasn't a very big container. And I swear it was probably just pure vanilla in an oil or something, right? It
Right.
was so good. But
Uh,
like I was telling Lisa though, I was hungry all the time because that's all you could smell. It's like
Oh, how funny.
craving
Oh,
something.
I love that. I'm not kidding. I will dab some. I'll even put a little almond extract back here because
Mm,
I love the smell of it. It's
Yeah.
delicious.
I
Yeah.
think you and
So simple.
Saeed would get along.
Mhm.
Our interview with Saeed aired a few weeks ago, and he has a vanilla farm.
Oh,
And
I saw that. Gosh, I'm envious. Could you imagine
Right?
having all that vanilla? So
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
definitely envious of that for sure.
Yes, we certainly
Right?
are.
All right, tarts or pies? Oh my goodness.
That's a good question. I probably make more pies just because I'm going to say pie because I make a really, really good flaky pie crust. In fact, that was the tip that I didn't send you guys, but that I wanted to remember to mention
Okay.
about making pies is that tea towel trick. Because when I make my pie crust, I actually use a food processor and because I have hot hands and I just want to touch the ingredients as little as possible. Ziz, 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 boom. And then I don't let it get to a full ball stage. I let it to get like teeny tiny chunks. And then I dump the whole thing out onto a tea towel, remove the blade, just bring the tea towel together. Boom. It's already ready in a disc at that point. And it is so easy. I have a video of it. I'll have to send it to you because I tell everybody, and I teach a pie making class, and I did one at the state fair this year and taught pie making classes, and people went crazy for that tip. Like it really is nice. It keeps everything nice and clean. You don't have to touch it. It doesn't melt anything, and it's really super flaky. So I'm going to say pie because I know my crust is killer.
Oh,
Thank you for
wow.
the tip is mind blowing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm
Try
definitely going to try that next time.
Baking scrap came early.
Yes.
Wow. I never would have thought of that. But definitely keep sending those tips on and send us that pie crust.
It works.
No
It
kidding.
works.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wonderful. All right. Spring, summer, fall, or winter? Do you have a favorite season?
What else was that question supposed to mean?
I know. I do have a favorite season. It's not fall and it's not spring. So it's between winter and summer because we are big mountain people and we've got a place in the mountains with the snow. And there's nothing more beautiful than being locked in a snowy house and baking bread and baking. Like that's my dream weekend is
with the fireplace going.
With the fireplace, all the things, the dogs all snuggled up by the fire and just cooking. But on the flip side too, I love summer fruits and being out there. But I'm gonna say winter.
Winter's so cozy.
Yeah.
Because I look forward to it. By like around this time of year, I'm like, I can't wait till it snows. I can't wait for those weekends where it's cold and I get to make soup and stew and really yummy breads and just I can't wait.
You're speaking my language. I'm like, snow weather.
Right?
So
and it's not 90s here today. It's nowhere even close to fall.
Very cold in my house today.
Oh, right.
So my house is either very hot in the summer or very cold in the winter. And we have oil heat here and I just don't want to turn it on because it's so expensive. So so I was like, hey, and like if you checked my Google searches, one of the most recent ones was when do we get to turn the clocks back? Because I'm like, I'm so ready for snuggly winter time,
Right. A few more weeks.
November 3rd.
November 3rd, the day before my birthday. We got it. Okay. I can remember that for sure.
There we go.
All right, next question. Victoria sponge or sticky toffee pudding?
Ooh, that's a good one. I actually just did a recipe for the fall issue using figs instead of dates for a sticky toffee figgy pudding.
Yum.
Because of that, I'm going to say that because it's umptious. It's delicious and it really works in the winter time. It's warm and gooey. I'm going to say sticky toffee.
That sounds like the perfect winter dessert.
Yeah.
What was the texture like on using the figs rather than the dates?
It was a very, very similar, but because like I said earlier, I used dried figs and I reconstituted them, but I used warm rum. So a spiced rum. And so it was a little boozy and it really infused that flavor rather than just using hot water. I think anytime people use water, I always want to replace it with alcohol or something that has a flavor. I think it makes a big difference. And so, yeah, it was really delicious.
Yeah. And for a lot of people that are concerned about the actual alcohol, when you bake it, most of it evaporates anyway. Exactly. So you're really, so really you are left with just that extra flavor.
The flavor. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I put rum in everything.
Yes, I do too. I love it.
And see, I actually use a spiced whiskey.
Oh, nice.
Absolutely delicious.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Yum. Oh, I'm going to have to try that. Yeah. I mean, I cook with my husband is a whiskey fanatic. He loves whiskey and scotch and things like that. But I think like I'll make a lot of whiskey caramels around, St. Patty's Day and things like that. And also in my chocolate cake, whiskey and Guinness and yeah, but spice whiskey sounds great.
Yeah. Yes, the spice box is just really good. Yes.
Right.
Cool. All right. This leads us to the last this or that question.
Okay.
And
this is the one where she'll judge me.
Uh-oh.
Less and less every day, though.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Oh, good. It lessens. It was that initial shock, I think, that I'm still trying to get over. So butter tarts or any bakes in general, with or without raisins?
Oh, absolutely. Raisins ruin everything. I stand firm. I stand firm on that. I've said it before. Raisins ruin everything.
Raisins ruin everything.
Even in bread? Because I actually am not a real fan of raisins in a lot of like more sweet bakes and stuff. But in breads, I can appreciate them. Like a nice cinnamon raisin bread or bagels.
Yeah, no, I don't even have raisins in the house. It's funny because I love roasted grapes, and I will put my roasted grapes in my bread and make tarts with roasted grapes, which I know are not raisins, but I think they're really underutilized and they're delicious. But straight up raisins, I don't know if it's the texture. I think it's both the texture and the flavor. Because I like dried fruits, and I'll put a lot of dried fruits like cranberries, currants in the bread, which are similar to the texture of a raisin, but I can't get behind the raisin. I'm one of those raisin haters. Like there are a lot of us out there.
It's about 50-50.
Yeah, it's very, we never know what people are going to say. But this is the part where I always say, but what if you soak them in rum?
Right. And now if you soak them in rum and puree them, that would be the way I'm going to incorporate them. And then I would be okay with that. That sounds good. To use raisins, that's how I would do it.
Okay. And this is now the part where Cristina says, I like to put currants in my butter tarts.
I do. I do like currants in my butter tarts.
You didn't know what I was meaning.
No, I was like, what am I supposed to say now?
You usually say that you like to put currants in your butter tarts.
I do like currants, but yeah, I agree with you. There's something about raisins though, the texture of a raisin, because it still has that little bit of grittiness, but it's almost there's too much of it, right? Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas a currant's a little smaller, it's got a little bit more of a crunchier bite. Where
and that's what I dislike.
It's got, but with the raisins, it's kind of like you're like sinking your teeth into it first, and it's like soft and mush, and then you get that little grain right at the end. But it's like there's just, I don't know. I like currants, so I can handle a currant without a doubt. Yeah. I love your roasted grape idea, though. I think that would be brilliant, especially in like a sourdough. I think that would be
try it. It's delicious, and it's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous.
Yeah, I've never even thought of roasting a grape. So
yeah, I do roasted grapes and sourdough, and try it in pies and tarts, and it's really people don't think of it, and they're delicious, and they taste really good once they've been roasted. Like really.
So how do you roast your grapes?
Yeah.
In the oven. In the oven, a little olive oil. Sometimes, well, it depends if I'm going sweet or savory, salt and pepper, whatnot. If I'm going a savory route, or maybe some herbs, and then otherwise, if I'm going sweet, then I actually don't even think I put sugar on them because they're so sweet
Yeah,
themselves,
sweet.
especially the sweetness comes out once they're roasted even more. It kind of
Yeah.
intensifies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wonderful.
I'm loving getting all these ideas and tips
Mhm.
and tricks. Like one of the ones I just watched the Great Australian Bake Off. I
Yeah.
forget which episode it was. It must have been the first one. No, second one.
Okay.
And they made a Zopf
Oh, yeah,
bread,
yeah, yeah.
which is a braided bread, and it's got orange blossom water in it.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. And it
and
looks like challah, doesn't it?
yes,
Like,
it does.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
she made it was Rachel Koo, and she made it with 6 strands instead of only 3. So that was fun figuring that braiding out, but she made it with a toasted vanilla whipped cream. And
Wow.
so I have this tiny little cast iron frying pan that is mostly decorative in my house above my stove, but I toasted my vanilla beans in that tiny little pan and then ground them all up. They do use a mortar and a pestle, which I didn't have. Ground it all up and just folded it into the vanilla or the whipping cream, sorry. And oh my, that
I
was so delicious.
love that idea. I've
Mhm.
never toasted vanilla bean before, and I have tons
No.
of vanilla beans. I use them all the time. I like will steep the vanilla bean when I make brown butter. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I that it gets a vanilla flavor, but I'm going to try that. Does it make it nutty or just enhances the
No,
vanilla?
it's very vanilla.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to try
Vanilla.
that. I that's a great tip. I'm going to steal that one.
Thanks. Do you have a mortar and a pestle? Because I
I
think it would
do.
be much,
I
yeah, because
do.
I couldn't get
Yeah.
it. I had quite large bits of vanilla bean in there, but oh, it was so good. I really
Really? Oh, I'm going
That
to try.
sounds amazing.
Yeah.
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 Definitely need to try that. So cool.
Yeah.
So thank you for playing along with us. That was a lot of fun. See, it was you went through that with
You got through it.
Well, I love playing games, so I'm always down for a game.
awesome. All right.
Well, you've kind of already given us a baking scrap, a tip or a trick, but do you have another
yeah.
one?
Oh yeah. Let's
Yeah.
see. What was my other one? I forgot now. I know. Well, let's see. I was gonna talk about cake decorating a tiny, tiny bit because I feel
Mhm.
like people struggle. But I wanted to call out that in order to properly decorate a cake, you really need 2 different textures of the same frosting. Because I feel like if you're going to pipe and fill it like a full on layer cake, if you really want to do good decorating, you need a thicker dam so you can put your filling in that's going to make it sturdy and structurally sound, if you will. And then people struggle using that same frosting to get it really smooth. I feel like that's a big struggle for people is I can't get it smooth, it has all these air holes. Well, 2 things: you need to do a crumb coat, which I think most people know, but after you do that and then you pop it in the fridge, you want to take the rest of that frosting and then put your paddle on. But not only that, with your paddle, and just whip the air out of it or beat the air slowly out of it. I always like to heat up about a cup. And granted, for baking, I don't use cups, I only use grams, but like, roughly a cup, heat that up and then pour it onto your frosting. So it is really, really silky smooth, but also really soft. So softer than you would think. And once you put that on the cake that's cold, it perfectly smooths it. So easy to get a smooth outer appearance. There are no bubbles, there are no air holes. And I think I see people that really want to decorate and are really trying to up their game at decorating. I can see they've got beautiful piping skills as far as, piping with a piping bag, but the outer body of their cake is suffering because it's all pocked because they haven't gotten the consistency right. And I think people don't know to heat that last outer layer up a little bit.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Doing the 2 different consistencies of buttercream.
Yeah.
Never thought of it.
Right. Yeah. And
brilliant.
You don't really have to dirty another bowl or anything. It's just other than maybe heating up that tiny bit, but it's a game changer if you want a smooth sided cake. And I feel like it just knocks all the frustration out of if you're spinning on your turntable, desperate to get a smooth side on the cake, you're never going to get it if your consistency is not right. And I feel like people get defeated, and this is a way for them really to get that gratification of having a smooth-sided cake really easily.
Yeah.
That's a great tip.
Can I add one little bonus tip on there?
Yes.
Texture on cake is awesome.
Yes,
Because then actually, because I do that sometimes too. And sometimes there's always like, even with the really smooth sides and working on that and all the, tricks to do that. Sometimes there's just a couple pieces that just aren't perfect. And so I'll just go through with like my little palette knife, and then I'll just like kind of just press it against there. So there's just a little bit of texture, and then add a little bit, either some nice little sprinkles or a little gold. And it's beautiful as well. And unless you're after that fully smooth cake, which is
right. Yeah. I agree. Cake combs and the cake stencils, if you haven't tried them, are amazing. They and plus I'm a big believer in buttercream because nobody wants to eat fondant. Like, let's be real, it doesn't taste good. If I cover a cake in anything, it's going to be marzipan and it's going to be homemade. But the texture, like you said, is just, it's very elegant. It's very quick to get an elegant cake doing something like a texture with a palette knife or something like that too. It looks really elegant.
Yeah. It's pretty. And I think that's the other part of it as well, is just experiment with your cakes. They don't have to be a specific, look or whatever. I just, just let your artistic, juices fly, right?
Yeah,
just let them flow. And and then you have a lot of fun that way too, right? I find that with a lot of the cakes that I do, and it's just, I have an idea of what I want it to look like, but then it kind of it
evolves from there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It evolves.
Yeah.
Unless you have somebody who's ordered it that has a very specific idea in mind. But yes, it's nice when they give you free reign to just be creative.
Right.
Absolutely.
It is.
Yeah. And those are the people you want to make cakes for too, really.
When they trust you to
when
do
they
it.
trust you. Exactly. To be able to do that. Because I don't like that when people, I get it. People have certain visions of what they'd like for a cake, which is great. But I love that artistic freedom to kind of just create. So give me an idea of vision, colors, that kind of stuff.
And a theme. And then let me run with it.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the most fun. It makes us keep looking forward to doing it, right?
I agree.
Well, Dyana, thank you for being here with us today. This has been so much fun, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us.
Yeah, thank you both for having me. This was really, like I said, I can talk about food and baking all night long. So this was a joy, really. And I'm just honored to be part of it and part of the wonderful people that you guys have been interviewing. I've been watching all of the streaming and stuff and seeing who I think you also had somebody from an American show here that I watch.
The Summer Baking Championship.
Yeah, Stephanie Tucci. Like, I was so shocked. I was like, wow, they're really getting everybody. I love that. So it's really, really cool what you guys are doing, and keep doing it because it's a lot of fun to watch. And thank you for letting me be part of it.
Oh, well, we're thrilled. Yeah, it was definitely thrilled. And we were honored to have you on our podcast. And hopefully we can do this again another day.
Yes, I would love to. And hopefully someday you could watch the darn show. So one of these days, maybe it'll get up to you guys.
Definitely. Well, come and visit. And in the meantime, send us some recipes and we shall search for the show. And looking forward to spending some time together singing and not baking together, because that's
oh no, that would be fun. I'm making it fun.
That would be fun.
But for people who are in the US, because we do have some US followers, where can they watch your season 6 of the Great American Baking Show?
Okay, so they just need to go to Roku, or you can either have the device, which is a Roku, or you can search the Roku channel. If you have Smart TV, Apple TV, or a Fire Stick, you can just search Roku channel, but you have to put in the word channel for some reason, not just Roku. And then there are 2 episodes under Roku, and mine is considered season 1 under Roku. Okay. So there's a drop down, and there are 6 different episodes. There are technical recipes for all of those that I have kept because I was pushing the producers. I wanted it to be like the British Bake Off. So I have all of the recipes for all of those technicals posted under my Instagram, and I've shared.
That's awesome.
But if anybody watches the show and wants them and can't find them, just shoot me a note. I'm happy to send them over.
I am just realizing that we have access to my friend Dina, who lives in Philadelphia, who's going to be a guest on our show soon. She has a Plex that I have access, and she can probably find it and put it on her Plex for us.
Wow, how cool!
That would be
great.
Cool.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But in the meantime, in order to get access to those recipes and also follow you on Instagram, because your page is just stunning and beautiful. And you've got so many great tips that you share with people all the time on your site. It's the Rockabilly Baker, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. That's correct. Yes.
So definitely give Dyana a follow on Instagram if you don't already follow her.
Yes, that would be great. I'd love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, take care, ladies.
Thanks, Dyana. Bye. Dyana, what a wonderful personality she was. So much fun, so much energy, so creative. It was just a joy to have a conversation with her and her tips. I mean,
I'm blown away by the pie crust tip. I want right now to go and make a pie because that have you ever heard of doing that?
No, I think it's absolutely brilliant and it makes perfect sense, right? Because that is one of the tricks to get the flakiest of pie crust is not having the heat. And
your butter cold.
Yeah. And, putting it in a tea towel, wringing it out.
Not touching it as much. Wow. That's great.
It's just so brilliant. And it also shapes it in the shape that it needs to be in too. So all of that is incredible and worth the price of admission for today's podcast.
Yes, it was very expensive, but worth it. That's fabulous. Yeah, she had so much joy and bubbly personality, and I think she must be just so much fun for people to spend time with because this was a great little bit of time that we spent with her.
Can you imagine being her neighbor? Or one of her coworkers, or one of her husband's coworkers,
bringing the yummy, tasty stuff over every day. Here you go.
Yeah, and she delivers too. Just send me your address, and I'll drop it off at your doorstep. It's like, do you think BC's a little far for her to drop off?
It sounds like she just needed an excuse to come, so now she has one. So
there you go.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see what kind of care package she whips up for you.
No, or for you,
or for me. Yes, but Loic should be, I think he's going to be really excited to receive that.
No kidding.
And that was wonderful of him.
Right. And I love the love between, we've talked about it before, right? How it transcends not only the seasons that they're part of, but beyond that to reach the other franchises of the Great British Bake Off, and how that show has really brought so many great people together and have fostered these relationships and conversations with people who have like passions towards food and baking.
It brought me to you.
Beautiful thing. And it brought me to you too. And it's a beautiful thing.
It is. I'm very happy.
Yeah. Cool.
You are like my sister.
I know. You're like the sister I never had.
I have two sisters, but I'm happy to have another one.
I know. I didn't have one. So I can actually really say that. So the more the merrier, right?
Yes, definitely. The more the merrier. I have to say, when we were talking about 80s music and you were saying how it was such fun music, and then you said there was a lot going on at the time. And then I got We Didn't Start the Fire in my head because it's talking about all the different things that were going on at the time. So I've got that going through my head now. It may have to be our exit music.
There you go. Well, you're in charge of that editing. So
okay, I'll work on that. But in the meantime,
cue the music.
I don't know. We probably won't be able to add that on because, copyright infringement would be bad. But we didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning.
I'll let you sing us out.
That's good enough. Okay. Well, happy baking, everybody.
Happy baking, everyone. See you next week.